there, my name is Thomas O'Regan and I'm a professional property investor here in Australia. Now today I just wanted to talk about the sacrifices most people will have to do to achieve their goals. Now, whether you want to be an Olympic swimmer, professional surfer, you know, go to university or, be wealthy or, advance and get to a very high level, executive level in a career, you need to make a lot of sacrifices that you probably will be aware of or won't be aware of. Now, the difference between the people that achieve their goals and the people that don't are their willingness to do what it takes to sacrifice, to make the sacrifices that they need to make to achieve those goals. Now, I just want to, when it comes to it, most people don't do what it takes to achieve their goals. They give up on them because they realize the sacrifices are too much more than they're willing to do. Now, an example, just simple example of a sacrifice might be, you live in a place which is quite nice and the cost is quite expensive. And for you, you might want to become wealthy and you might want to spend, or you might need to hit that goal, you might need to reduce your expenses so you can funnel more money in or push more money into investments to grow your wealth, so you can get to financial freedom. And that might require, if you're living in a nice area, and that might require that you go somewhere that's not so nice or change your living situation to live in somewhere where it is a bit cheaper, right? That's a sacrifice that a lot of people would not be willing to make. Now, another sacrifice is probably recreational things and spending time with friends. If you want to, get a good job or have any sort of success in university, you kind of, I would imagine, never went to university, I would imagine there's times where, I never did this sacrifice obviously, but there's times where you have to say no to social events and no to going out to the pub or whatever it is, and having a drink instead choose to study, spend the time at home and learning what you need to learn to, pass the course or pass the degree, whatever. Now, there's another type of sacrifice that you need to think about, or that I think about, and that's the sacrifice of, you might think you're working as hard as you possibly can, but most people, especially for myself, it turns out that however hard you think you're working, you can probably 10x it. And I see this happen most when I observe friends or family or colleagues that have kids. They were working, they thought what they were doing was working hard before, and they were watching Netflix and they had time to go to the movies and social events and this and that and the other. And then all of a sudden they have kids and they're not getting any sleep and they're working, 3 times as hard as they ever were. And the point is, it's when kids come into your life, that's when most people realize that they weren't really working that hard before and now they can work 10 times harder than ever before. Now, I try to make a conscious effort to do that before I have kids because I know that it is possible to work 10 times harder than I'm working, and to achieve what I want to achieve, my goals, I need to work 10 times harder than I have been. So I'm going to leave it there, but yeah, it's very important to acknowledge that if you want to achieve your goals, you're going to have to make sacrifices. See you guys next time. Bye.